Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Saints go on the road and got a feel good in the belly. New Orleans, after a really disappointing loss at home against Tampa, which followed an utter collapse on the road against the Packers. You were going to New England in a game that was a coin flip, according to the odds makers, and the way it started was not great, to be very clear about it. So much so that it felt like it was just a continuation of what we had seen a week ago. The Saints get the ball, and they actually convert a third down. Beautiful out route to Michael Thomas, strong hands, good catch on the sideline. And then the issues come. You get a 1st and 10 at the New England 45, and Derek Carr misses a wide open Chris Olave down the left side, where he likely would have scored. And then Alvin Kamara has a nice 11-yard run, and you're flagged for holding on Adam Prentice. Rough go for Adam Prentice this past few weeks. You miss a deep ball to Olave, and ultimately you have to punt. Oh, did I mention you also had an illegal formation on the punt? You didn't have enough men on the line of scrimmage. So the punt that was down at the 5-yard line, they move you back. You got to go punt again. It started terribly. You did hold New England to 3 and out, which was great. The defense showed up like they have. Your offense gets the ball back. Jimmy Graham drops a pass. You're thinking, like, what else could possibly go wrong with this team? You're missing open receivers. You're dropping passes. You got stupid penalties. And then it happened. Carl Granderson hits Mac Jones, and the Honey Badger did what the Honey Badger does.
Takes the snap out of the shotgun. Saints bring 4, and ball's picked off. That's Tyrann Mathieu, 15, 10. He will walk into the end zone. Pick 6 for the Saints.
That play felt like it opened the floodgates. If you were watching that game, didn't that game feel like all of the negativity, the cloud just lifted? It's like, have you ever, many of you have, you ever woke up on a Sunday after a Saturday night where you've been drinking a good amount? You wake up, you drink some orange juice, you pop some Advil, and then you eat that greasy breakfast sandwich, and then right when it starts to sit on your belly, you just go like, maybe you let out a big belch, and you go like, oh man. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like when Tyrann Mathieu returned that pick 6. Because it just felt like all of the weight and all of the burden of not scoring a touchdown the week before against Tampa, all of that had been lifted. The 20 consecutive drives without a touchdown. Now, you got one offensively coming, but just to get in the end zone felt so big in that situation, because when you get special teams or defensive touchdowns, the odds shift to your favor of winning the game. Now, it didn't work out for the Saints when they got the punt return for touchdown against Green Bay, but we know how that went. The Tyrann interception came at exactly the right time for this team when it felt like they had to have something go really well, and it did. New England gets the ball back. They miss the field goal. The Saints get it back. Boom. 8 plays, 62 yards. Kamara gets in the end zone. You're up 14, and the vibes are good at this point, and they never really let up. Yes, we can talk about the penalties in this game, which were a problem. You were penalized 12 times. There was a lot in this game that wasn't great. You were penalized 12 times. I mentioned Adam Prentice holding, which wiped out Kamara's best run of the day. The Jimmy Graham drop that I mentioned. The Derek Carr miss on Olave deep. There were some things in this game that weren't great, but man, all of the good overshadowed the negative on a day where you had to go win. Listen, offensively, you're still not a great team. Yes, you put up 34 points. 17 points came off of New England turnovers. So that's a direct correlation to the job that your defense did. But this also ends the streak of scoring, of not going over 21 points. You finally were able to go have an offensive day. So, yes, you take it. That was fantastic. We saw Alvin Kamara break Marcus Colston's franchise scoring record. The most touchdowns now in Saints franchise history. Alvin Kamara holds that mark. A really cool, a footnote in this game, but something that's just an awesome piece of history for this franchise. 73 career touchdowns. He passes Marcus Colston. He previously passed Mark Ingram. Deuce McAllister's now fourth on that list. But what a day for Alvin Kamara to go out and get that record. Carl Granderson. You finally paid the right guy at defensive end. Granderson is such an interesting story because we talked about him so much leading up to the draft when he was at Wyoming. He had some off-the-field issues. You had a legal battle. He was in jail. It's why he went undrafted. But the Saints liked him as a player. They believed in him as a person. He has been all on the straight and narrow since he's been in New Orleans. And the Saints have invested so much in that end opposite Cam Jordan. If it was Marcus Davenport or Peyton Turner, now they've drafted Isaiah Foskey. Of course, they decided not to pay Trey Hendrickson. But there's been so much invested there, and Granderson has just bided his time. And when he got his opportunity, be it out of necessity or whatever, he is making the most of that opportunity. 3 TFLs, a sack. Of course, he hit Mac Jones on the big play where Tyrann Mathieu got the interception. Like, you can look at Carl Granderson and feel justified in the contract that you gave him because he's giving new life also to Cam Jordan because you have a true tandem. You have a threat opposite Cam Jordan if teams try to shade and double Cam Jordan. So there's so much to like about things we saw in that game. Listen, I understand the New England Patriots are a bad football team. They might be the worst team in the NFL. But that's not the Saints' problem. You play the teams on your schedule, and in the NFL, it's hard to shut anybody out, and it's hard to win. It's harder to win on the road. It's harder to pitch a shutout in a win on the road. And listen, I know a year ago we saw this Saints team pitch a shutout as well. It was the home game against Derek Carr and the Raiders. And at that point in the season, the Saints win that one 24-0. They're 3-5, and you're looking at a bad division thinking, man, if you could get going. But then they had Baltimore and Pittsburgh in back-to-back weeks, and they lost before beating the Rams and losing to San Fran and Tampa in that awful Monday Night Football game. But they strung together some wins late. Listen, I'm not sitting here telling you that I'm a believer in the Saints team because I'm not. I'm not telling you. It was great to see Foster Moreau score his first touchdown in a Saints uniform. I mean, overcomes cancer in the offseason. New Orleans kid who gets to play for the hometown team gets his first touchdown in the black and gold. Awesome. There's so much to like that was fun in that 3-hour window. This team, if you watched San Francisco on Sunday Night Football, you realize that the Saints are nowhere close to a contending football team. But you're still in a division that does not have an elite team in it. Can you win a bad division and get yourself into the tournament? That's always the goal. Just get in the playoffs and see if you can make some hay there. Now, my prediction on this team was they would go 9-8, 10-7, win a bad division, lose in the wild card round. I've seen nothing yet to move me off of that. Yesterday was a fun respite, though, from the 2 weeks prior, which were miserable and indicative of the very real issues that this team and this franchise have. But even if it was a 3-hour silo for a day, I'll take it. Because 34-0 and beating New England the way you did was an awful lot of fun to watch. So I hope you enjoyed it. Saints are on the road against Houston this weekend, and then they got the short week at home against Jacksonville. We'll see if the Saints can try to make a little hay here, make up for the 2 games that gagged away with Green Bay and Tampa. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.